Hey guys, today we are going to do another retrospective of a device that came out last year. This is the Pixel 4, and so this is Google's flagship phone from 2019. Came out in October, I got it on day one, and I've been using it basically every day since then. Now, my main phone is an iPhone. I use an iPhone 11 Pro, but I do use the Pixel 4 as kind of a secondary phone. I switch to it for a couple weeks here and there throughout the year, throw my SIM card in there, and I get a lot of use out of it. And I like to be able to keep up with what Android is doing, and the Pixel obviously is where you want to go for that. So this phone came out and was not perfect at launch. There were a lot of issues with it. There were concerns with battery life and stuff. So I wanted to take a look at a year later with a year of software updates. We have Android 11 on it now. How is the phone doing? How did it hold up throughout the year? And were those concerns at the start warranted, or were they not? So what is the best part of the Pixel? Well, it's the same thing that's been the best part of every Pixel. It's the camera. The camera is great on the Pixel 4. It takes spectacular photos. It takes great telephoto. It has some great zoom functionality with a second lens this year. They added a telephoto 2x lens, which is great. It doesn't have an ultra-wide lens, which would have been nice. It would have been nice to be able to get those shots because you can simulate zoom to an extent. You can do some like cleanup of the image to make it look better, but you can't simulate getting more information in the shot. You can't actually fake that other stuff. You can do a panorama or whatever, but it's not the same. So when I take this out and compare it to the iPhone 11 Pro, which is its direct competitor as kind of like the top camera on the smartphone, I think that they trade blows, basically. You look at any two shots, and sometimes the Pixel will be better, sometimes the iPhone will be better. It's really a toss-up, and some of it comes down to personal taste with what sort of formatting you like, what sort of processing you like. They each do some post-processing to give you a certain look to the images, but it's really up to you. I think that they're basically a wash, and they're close enough that it doesn't really matter at this point. One thing where the Pixel does fall behind the iPhone a little bit though is in video. So people go on and on about like the modes. There's no 4K 60, there's no 4K 24 either. So you have to shoot 4K 30 if you're gonna shoot 4K. I'm not super annoyed by that. I get that it's a limitation and it's gonna be annoying for some people, and like being able to shoot 4K 60 is really nice for getting kind of like slow-mo shots, but it's not an absolute requirement for me. What really bothers me is that the actual quality of the video, no matter what resolution you're shooting in, is lower than that of the iPhone, and by quite a bit. There's a lot more pixelation, even in very good lighting. If you're going outside and taking daytime video, a lot of it is going to be not as good as you would like. And so I really think that upcoming versions of the Pixel, I'd love to see them do some enhancements to video. That's obviously much more intensive, but that's where it's missing compared to the iPhone, and part of that has got to be the hardware. The Pixel 4 has much simpler hardware in terms of lenses and everything than the iPhone, and so they need to invest in that if they're going to improve their video game, because they can't do it computationally as well right now as they can with their photos. Another thing I really like about the Pixel 4 is the design. Like, I think this phone looks great. I think that if you look at kind of just the general shape of it, the kind of two-tone colors, the little accent on the power button right here, it looks really good. It's not super premium. It doesn't feel quite as expensive as an iPhone or a Galaxy device feels. Like, those are like, they're heavy in the hand. Like, you can tell that you're paying $1,000 for it. With the Pixel 4, even though it started costing $800 back in October and has gone down since then, it doesn't feel as premium, but I think it feels really solid in the hand. I think the materials are really nicely, just nicely done. I think it looks nice, it feels nice in the hand. I really like these kind of sides that are kind of like this brushed metal. I don't know if they're metal or plastic technically, but they feel really good. It doesn't slip around in my hand as much as the iPhone does. So I really like the design. I really like how this phone feels. I like how it looks. I like a lot about it. And the third thing I want to talk about is the display. The display on this phone is really good. It's a 90 hertz screen. It's over 1080p. It looks really good. It's super color accurate. I think one of the review sites gave it like the highest marks of a screen at the time that it came out. It's very accurate, it's very bright, it looks really good, and the high refresh is super wonderful. Like, I really appreciate anything over 60 hertz, and having a 90 hertz screen in my life is fantastic. I love the 120 hertz on the iPad Pro, and I'm really, fingers are crossed that the new iPhones this year have a 120 hertz screen as well. Now, of course, there is a pretty significant forehead and some chin as well on this, and it's it's weirdly proportioned. It's weird to see the top of the phone have so much and the bottom have so little. It's a little strange. You do get used to it and you stop thinking about it after a while, but it is definitely not as fancy as these other phones that go with extreme screen-to-body ratios. It's not as concerned with that, and honestly, after using it for a while, you don't even think about it, so I really think that that's kind of a spec sheet thing more than a thing that'll actually help you use the device better in the long run. But that brings us to the things that I don't like as much about the phone. And again, the big thing, it lives right up there in that top bezel, and that is the face unlock and radar sensor. So the Soli sensor that they put in there was like the big thing about this phone. That was like the thing they wanted to shout from the rooftops about, that made it unique and made it something that was totally different from everything else on the market. And I think it's a complete whiff. There's basically no value that I'm getting from this right now. They do some things with like being able to, like if it's laying on a table and like the alarm goes off and you reach your hand towards it, it'll soften the noise. It'll like reduce the loudness of the noise that it makes so that because it knows you're close to it. It does some stuff with like knowing when you walk towards it to turn on the always on display, to turn on the face recognition sensors so that it detects your face faster. And it has media controls, so you can like hold it here and then like swipe above it, do this stuff to control you can control your music that way. I've turned basically all of this off because I think it made the phone harder to use. The sensor is super prone to false positives. Like I would just have my phone sitting there with like music playing, and I just go to reach for it. I would just kind of like do this, and it would detect that as like a swipe to the side, and it would like go to the next track, and I'd be like, I just wanted to touch my phone. I just wanted to pick up my phone and look at it. The alarm stuff is okay, but like wasn't super practical. And then the face unlock stuff, which is again a negative. I love face unlock. I think on the iPhone 11 Pro, the face unlock is really good. I much prefer it over Face ID, although that's a little more complicated now that we're all wearing masks when we're out in the world. So that's a thing. But the Pixel 4 has a face unlock. It's a secure unlock. You can use it for payments. You can use it for everything. But it's slower than the iPhone 1 in my experience, and it's less reliable. And the radar sensor in the phone was supposed to make it better. It was supposed to make it so that those sensors kicked on quickly. Like with the iPhone, it uses the accelerometer. Once it detects that you're starting to pick it up, it turns things on. And the Pixel sort of does that too, but the radar sensor is supposed to do it quicker. In my experience, it's always slower to unlock for me than the iPhone, and it's less reliable. So I'm appreciative that it's there. I really like that they have face unlock and a secure face unlock that you can use for payments, but it's not as good as what the iPhone has. And so that's a bit of a disappointment. And then the thing that really held it back when it was brand new was the battery. The battery life was not good. Like it wasn't getting me through days pretty regularly. Like I do use my phone a little bit more than the average person, but not that much more. I don't have like 5 hours of screen on time or anything most days. And this phone was struggling to get through the day, like even just sitting there, just not doing anything, just kind of like checking for updates in the background, maintaining connection to Wi-Fi and LTE and whatever. It was burning battery, and it was just not good when it shipped. And so they've pushed out some updates and it's gotten better. And right now it's okay. I would describe it as fine, not amazing. It's not gonna get you like a day and a half. It'll get you through most days. But if you start to do a lot of GPS, if you start to do a lot of games on it that kind of burn through the battery, it's going to burn out much quicker than some other phones on the market. So the battery life, I guess right now would be fine, but it's not gonna blow you away. So where does that leave us? Well, I think that the Pixel 4 is an okay phone. I find it hard to recommend to anyone though. So for me, it is the perfect phone for me because from my perspective, I want something with a great camera and I want something where I can keep up to date because of the work that I do on YouTube, on my blog. I need to be able to keep up with what Google is doing with Android, and the best way to do that is with a Pixel. There's just no other option that's going to be as good, as reliable at getting those updates, at getting those new features. You got to get a Pixel. So for me, this is the phone to get. For most people, I think that if you want that, I think the Pixel 4a is a better choice. It doesn't have the same processor, it has a slower processor, and it doesn't have the telephoto camera, and it doesn't have the face unlock, but it has a fingerprint unlock. It has all the software updates that you're gonna get with the Pixel 4, and it has the same standard wide camera, and is significantly less. It's $350. So it's hard for me to recommend the Pixel 4, which started out at $800 to $1,000, is often on sale for like $600 now. But it's hard for me to recommend that over the Pixel 4a, which gets you most of the experience just for a significantly lower price. And it has better battery life, which is great. At this point, if you're looking for an Android phone, I really am more likely to recommend you use a OnePlus. You can get those in more places now. They work on basically every carrier, and they give you a pretty darn close to stock Android experience with some nice tweaks on it. And you can get software updates almost day and date. I also like Samsung phones. That's a whole other thing. One UI is more controversial, so it's not a recommendation for everybody, but Samsung phones are really solid too. So it's hard for me to recommend the Pixel in this world where you can get a OnePlus for the same price or less, and it has all the same hardware features, maybe not quite as good a camera, but all the other stuff plus more. And then there's the Samsung phones where on the high end, you can get a lot more features as well. So it's kind of a trade-off, and this thing kind of falls in the middle where it's kind of a no man's land. It's too pricey for what it offers. It doesn't offer enough. It's not my favorite phone. For me, I'm gonna keep it, obviously, because I already bought it. But if you're looking for a new Pixel device, I would really encourage you to look at the Pixel 4a instead. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this retrospective on the Pixel 4. This might not be the last retrospective on this channel in the near future, so I'm kind of enjoying doing these sorts of looks back on products. I'm not a huge YouTuber, so I don't get products sent to me like a week early for me to review, so I'm not gonna have these day one reviews like some of the YouTubers, but I can kind of look at these things later on and see how did they hold up, how are they doing, were they actually worth it, and I think those can be interesting as well. So thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed already, hit the button down there to subscribe, and I will see you here next time. Bye-bye.